morning, Quirky Birders, it's Lynn here, and welcome to episode 4 of your daily art challenge. Now today we're going to be working on completing the picture with the paint ahead of tomorrow's episode, which will be Fine Liner Friday, where we'll be popping in all of the ink details. So we're going to be working on the rest of the picture today. So we're going to be putting in our little swimming costumes on our little bathing bells. We're going to be putting in some final details on the hats, and we're also needing to apply the second layer of colour to the sky. But the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop a little bit of paler green to the lady here on the right hand side. Now I'm going to mix a shade of green because I want something a little bit warmer. I want it to be a little bit paler, a little bit warmer. So I'm going to add just a touch of yellow to the colour green. I just want that little bit of sort of lime green sort of vibrancy going on with the colour. So adding a little bit of yellow. And then what I'm going to do to begin with is I'm going to just paint all of the swimming costume. Now we are going to put some little polka dots onto this costume, but we can do that using a darker shade of green once it's dry. So because we're going to be working on the entire picture today, we'll start with this colour first, just to allow that to dry, and then we'll be able to pop in the darker polka dots. So we'll just completely fill the area in that pale green. So, now while we're working on the bathing bells, we can do our next lady, and she's got a orange and white striped costume. So I'm just going to pop those orange stripes into her costume. So we'll keep a little bit of the white up against the hat, and then we'll miss a line. And just work your way down your picture. Again, don't worry too much if your lines aren't too sharp, because they will become more defined when we add in the ink details. A little bit more colour on that last stripe, it was a little bit too pale. Okay, and then lastly we can just do a little bit on the bikini over here. So I'm going to use a nice bit of purple I'm just going to put the bikini bottoms in first. So, and then I'll just put that same colour just at the very top. Now again, we're going to be putting some additional details in to the bikini, but we'll just let that bikini dry before we then add in the details. Like so. So the next thing that we can do is we can actually put some of those details into the hats. So I'm going to start over here with the colour red. So I'm going to use a nice bit of crimson, very deep red. And all I'm going to do is literally just paint in the round of that hat. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the orange hat and the bow. I'm just going to use the colour red. And I'm just going to pop in paint the bow first. Now I'm still using a size 6 brush. You could change to something a little bit finer if you wanted to, if you feel that you would have a greater control. But I'm just using my size 6 at the moment. And then we'll just come around the band as well of the hat. And then lastly, I'm going to use the darker colour green and just put in a shade of colour into the centre of that green hat as well. It's actually not as noticeable as I'd like it, so I think I'm going to just introduce a little bit of blue. Let's just do a little blue. There we go. It's a little bit better. Okay, so whilst that layer of colour is all drying, what we'll just do next is we'll just pop in a layer of colour, second layer of colour on the sky. So using that darker blue, and just being careful around where you've painted the hat. You just want to completely paint over that blue sky. Just so you've got a nice strong pigment of colour. And just spend a bit of time just making sure there's no sort of scratchy brush strokes. bring that colour along the top. Come around the hat. And also around the orange one. And just keep going all the way along the sky. So just being careful of those sun hats. And then lastly, we've just got this left hand side to do up here. We'll come around the hat. And like I say, just spend a few moments just making sure there's no sort of scratchy brush strokes. Like so. Lovely. Okay, so while that's drying, we'll let that dry and make sure it's nice and even in tone. What we need to do next is we just need to mix up a little bit of skin tone colour. And you can do that a couple of ways. You can either use your pinks and your reds and go along the pinky tones, or you can do something a little bit warmer and richer and use sort of the ochre type colours, so you get like that lovely soft beigey colour. So this is just a little plastic mixing pot that I keep in my palette, and I just keep it so it's just constantly got that sort of fleshy tone colour in, and then all I can do is just then mix up a little bit more as and when I actually need it. So I'm just going to add in a little bit of the yellow ochre just to build up the quantity of colour. You can pop a little bit of white in if you want to make it a little bit paler. So I suspect I'll end up needing to do that because this is probably going to go a little bit yellowy. And I'll just need to knock it back ever so slightly. Let's pop a little bit of white in. There we go. So once you've got a colour that you're actually happy with, you just want a nice sort of fleshy, flesh tone colour. That's okay. Once you've got a colour that you're actually happy with, what you then need to do is we just need to paint in the bodies and arms of our bathing bells. So I've done the arm. I'll just do the back of the neck. And then the other arm. Now you can change that colour if you want to, ever so slightly. So you've got different tones of colours on your bathing bells. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to add a little bit of pink, just so it goes a little bit darker. And we'll just do Our Lady in the middle. We'll do her arms as well. Just get rid of any pooling paint. So you've just got a nice finish to that colour. And then we'll just deal with Our Lady at the end. So I'm just going to change the tone of colour again ever so slightly. This time I'm going to add a little bit of the grey. So we'll do her back. Her arms. And then we just need to do that little bit by the hat. Like so. Okay. So the next thing that we need to do, we've got our bodies all done. We're just going to put a couple of little bits of detail onto our swimming costumes. So I'm going to start with the lady in the green. And I'm just going to use a darker shade of green. And we'll just put a little waistband onto her bikini. Swimming costume, should I say? She's not in a bikini. And then we can also just pop in a little bit of a line around the neckline. And then what we're going to do is just freehand, we can just put some little polka dots onto her costume. Now you don't need to go too mad and completely fill the space, you just want the odd one or two. And we'll put some up her back. Like so. Now for our lady in orange, all we're going to do for her, actually I just think I've just put another little polka dot and I've just looked at that again. And for our lady in orange, what we're going to do for her is we'll just go back over those stripes again just to give them a little bit more depth of colour. So we'll come over one at the bottom. Like I say, just miss one and then carry on further up. So and then we can just put another layer of colour on that red. So we'll just pop that bow in so it's a little bit darker. And just come round the band again. And then for our lady in the purple, I'm actually going to use that red, the crimson red, and again what we'll do is we'll pop a little line around the neckline, and this time a little bit around the arms. Don't forget, these will be defined using your ink pen, so don't worry if your lines aren't too sharp. And then what we'll do is I'm just going to put a little frill all the way along the bikini top. And we'll just join that up with a nice edge, like so. Put a little bit more of that red in the centre of the hat just to link that colour. And then for the bikini bottoms, I'm going to just paint the area again with the purple, just so they become a little bit darker. just smooth that paint and manipulate that paint around a little bit. And just having looked away, I'm just going to make those little lines on the arms a little bit broader. The same around the neck. Okay, so that is it finished. As far as the painting is concerned. So we've applied the second layer of colour to the sky. We've then added in our colours on our Bathing Bells costumes. We've added in the little polka dot details and also the bow. And then we've also mixed the skin tones and just varied those skin tones throughout the picture. So that's it for the moment for this episode. This now needs to dry. And then once it's dry, we can then be working on the final ink details and that will be Fine Liner Friday. So that episode is going to be uploaded tomorrow. Enjoy your painting today. It really is the day that things really start to change as far as the Bathing Bells are concerned, and I shall see you all again tomorrow. Goodbye.